Mealy's family, excited by the idea of an outdoor adventure, decided to spend Sunday exploring a forest filled with enchanting trails. The morning was radiant, with the sun shining brightly and the fresh forest air filling everyone's lungs. Birds sang harmoniously, creating a magical atmosphere that promised an unforgettable day for all. Mealy's parents, thrilled with the prospect of a different kind of day, packed a backpack with snacks, water, and a camera to capture special moments. Mealy, only 7 years old, was particularly excited. With her pet bunny Biscoito in her arms, she could hardly wait to explore the forest and uncover its secrets. Her older siblings, equally enthusiastic, ran ahead, eager to blaze the trails. The forest seemed like something out of a fairy tale, with towering trees whose canopies formed a protective green dome. Sunbeams penetrated the leaves, creating a play of light and shadow on the leaf-strewn ground. The air was filled with the earthy scent of nature, and the sound of a nearby stream added a melodic touch to the scene. As they advanced along the main trail, Mealy and her family marveled at the beauty around them. Colorful wildflowers dotted the path, butterflies danced in the air, and small animals peeked curiously from their hiding places. It was the perfect setting for a day of discoveries and fun. With each step, Mealy became more enchanted by the forest's magic. Holding her bunny tightly, she observed everything around her with curious, bright eyes. The smile on her face reflected the pure joy of being there, sharing that special moment with her family. Little did they know that this promising morning was about to take an unexpected turn. The parents' distraction and Mealy's bunny. Mealy, a curious 7-year-old girl, was captivated by everything around her. With her pet bunny Biscoito in her hands, she followed her parents and siblings along the trails. The sun filtered through the trees, casting dancing patterns of light on the forest floor, and Mealy couldn't contain her excitement with each new discovery. As they walked, Mealy's parents became engrossed in an animated conversation with her older siblings. They talked about the different plants and animals they might encounter, getting lost in the wonder of the nature surrounding them. The main trail was wide enough for everyone to walk side by side, and the sound of laughter filled the air. However, amid the fun and distraction, no one noticed when Biscoito, Mealy's small bunny, began to squirm restlessly in her arms. Perhaps he had caught the scent of something interesting or simply wanted to explore. In a quick motion, Biscoito leaped from Mealy's arms and darted toward a side trail, hidden beneath an archway of low branches and dense leaves. Mealy's heart raced as she watched her beloved bunny escape. Without a second thought, she called out for him and ran after him, her small hurried steps echoing on the leaf-covered ground. The side trail was narrow and winding, quickly veering out of sight from the main path. The sound of her calls for Biscoito echoed among the trees, but absorbed in their own exploration, her parents and siblings didn't immediately notice her absence. The forest around Mealy seemed to grow denser and quieter as she moved forward, her eyes fixed on Biscoito's hopping silhouette ahead. The fear of losing her little friend propelled her onward, even as the path became increasingly confusing and unfamiliar. She didn't realize that with each step, she was moving further away from her family and the safety of the group. When she finally stopped, breathless, Biscoito was out of sight, and the trail she was on looked different, strange. It was then that Mealy realized the gravity of the situation. Alone and lost in the vastness of the forest, the small girl began to feel the first wave of panic. She looked around, trying to recognize something familiar, but all she saw were tall trees and shadows that moved with the wind. The distant sound of her parents and siblings had vanished, leaving her surrounded only by the forest's silence. A few minutes had passed before Mealy's parents, stopping to admire the scenery, noticed her absence. They were on an elevated spot, from where they could see the treetops gently swaying with the breeze. The scene was beautiful, but the tranquility soon turned into a rising wave of panic. Mealy's mother's heart raced when she realized her daughter wasn't nearby. "Mealy," she called out, her voice tinged with anxiety. Her father, feeling the same desperation, began calling too repeatedly, but the forest's silence was the only response they received. The feeling that something was terribly wrong quickly set in, intensifying their panic. Mealy's siblings, realizing the seriousness of the situation, immediately stopped and joined their parents in the search. They began to explore the surroundings, calling for Mealy in every direction. The forest, once a place of adventure and fun, now seemed like a threatening maze, full of shadows and uncertainties. Mealy's mother felt fear gripping her heart like a cold hand. She tried to stay calm, but the thought of her daughter lost in the vast forest was terrifying. Her eyes filled with tears as she continued to call out, her voice occasionally breaking. Mealy's father, trying to be the family's anchor of strength, looked frantically in every direction, searching for any sign of his daughter. They decided to split up to cover more ground. Each went in a different direction, walking parallel trails, calling for Mealy with all their might. But the forest seemed to swallow their cries, absorbing them into the depths of its tall trees and dense vegetation. With each passing minute without a response, their anguish grew. The sense of helplessness was overwhelming. The forest, which initially offered a charming refuge, now transformed into an impenetrable labyrinth. The trees, once providing refreshing shade, now seemed like insurmountable barriers. The sound of the birds and the wind rustling the leaves, which had been comforting, now sounded like a cruel reminder that Mealy was out there somewhere alone. Meanwhile, Mealy, lost and scared, couldn't hear her family's desperate calls. She was too far away, hidden in the forest's depths. The family, united by love and hope, continued their search, determined to find Mealy and bring their little girl back to the safety of their arms. Meanwhile, Mealy, realizing she was lost, tried to stay calm. She hugged her bunny, Biscoito, close to her chest, feeling the comfort of his soft fur. Her heart was racing, but her mind, recalling her parents' advice, sought to calm down. They always said, if you get lost, stay where you are and wait to be found. Determined to follow that advice, Mealy looked around and found a large stone, partially covered in moss, that seemed like a safe place to sit. She settled there, keeping Biscoito close, and took a few deep breaths, trying to push away the fear threatening to overwhelm her. "Mommy and Daddy will find me," she murmured to herself, repeating the phrase as a mantra of hope. The forest around her was dense and full of shadows, but Mealy tried to focus on the familiar and comforting sounds, the birds singing, the leaves rustling in the wind, and even the occasional distant sound of a stream. She knew she needed to be brave and trust that her family was looking for her. To keep her mind occupied and the fear at bay, Mealy started talking to Biscoito. "We'll stay here together, Biscoito. Mommy and Daddy will find us soon." She stroked her bunny, who seemed to sense her anxiety and snuggled closer. The simple act of caring for her pet helped Mealy feel a bit more secure. She looked around, trying to memorize the scenery so she wouldn't get even more lost. She observed the tall trees, each with its unique leaves, and the small bushes around the stone where she sat. Mealy paid attention to every detail, hoping that any change in the environment might be a sign that her parents were getting closer. Despite the growing sense of helplessness, Mealy clung to hope. She knew her parents loved her and would do everything to find her. The thought of their protective arms around her again gave her the strength to keep waiting. She imagined the relief on their faces when they found her, and this helped her maintain her courage. With each passing minute, Mealy silently repeated to herself, "They will find me. They will find me." This certainty, fueled by the love she knew her family had for her, was the anchor that kept her hope alive. In that quiet clearing, hugging her bunny, Mealy found the strength to wait, trusting that her family's love would guide their steps to her. The emotional reunion. Time seemed to stretch endlessly for Mealy's parents, who continued searching tirelessly, never losing hope. Each passing minute, each trail they followed, tested their determination and faith. The sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and purple, but the hope in their eyes never faded. Finally, after hours of desperate searching, Mealy's father heard a distant sound, a faint cry mixed with the soft bleating of a rabbit. He stopped, holding his breath and signaling to Mealy's mother. Their hearts pounded in unison. They followed the sound with quick, determined steps, rounding bends and pushing through dense vegetation. And then, turning a corner on the trail, their eyes filled with tears as they saw Mealy sitting, safe and sound, with Biscoito in her arms. The soft light of the evening wrapped around the small girl's body, as if nature itself was celebrating the reunion. Tears of relief and joy overflowed from Mealy's parents' eyes. They ran toward her, their voices calling her name with a mix of emotion and gratitude. Mealy looked up at the familiar cries, and a smile lit up her face as she ran towards their open arms. The tight hug that followed was filled with intense emotions: relief, love, gratitude, and a deep sense of unity. They held on to each other as if they never wanted to let go, feeling each other's heartbeats. Mealy, amidst tears and laughter, whispered that she was okay, that she had followed their advice and waited. The entire family, now reunited, realized the depth of love and the importance of being attentive to each other. The experience brought a new appreciation for safety and the bonds that held them together. In that embrace, they found renewed strength and understanding of the value of every moment together. As they walked back down the trail, with Mealy safe between them and Biscoito in her arms, Mealy's parents silently thanked the divine protection that had guided their steps. The Sunday, which began as a simple adventure, turned into a day of deep reflection and learning, reaffirming their unconditional love and the importance of always caring for and being present for those we love. With hearts warmed by the reunion, the family left the forest with a story they would never forget, a story of courage, hope, and the immeasurable power of family love.